let me take it away from you in Abuja and come back to Mr. Showme here in Lagos, because he says that there's nothing wrong with reassuring the people. In the president's words, let me quote this part of it where he spoke. He said, "We have had our challenges, security, economic, political, social, but we are resolved to combat and overcome them all." Isn't that enough assurance or guarantees for you?
When a party and a president runs on exactly solving those same questions or some challenges, security, economy, and all of you, and by the general acceptable statistics that is available both with credible organizations in Nigeria and those that are outside Nigeria and peer review organizations all over the world, says that it's precisely on those things that he has failed, then you want to see a bit more energy when he wants to talk about it. You cannot be losing jobs. You cannot have a situation where there's a lot of crisis all over. Just on Christmas Day, or New Year's Day, beg your pardon, 20 people were kidnapped in his own town in Katsina. You can't have all of that going on. And then you want to talk about the same thing that you're failing in your message. What one would have expected, perhaps one is guilty of over expecting an inspiration from a leader that has no capability to inspire himself. One would have expected him to say, this is what I am, it's a new year now, come together Nigeria, the world we're still going to keep trying at it, put a little bit more energy.
So it's just semantics?
Yes.
It's just semantics.
Hope is
but
not,
that doesn't take it away from him saying it.
Hope is not just a bland, lackluster, lack of belief comment. Hope is a power action. This is what we're going to do. Rally the country, push them forward, apologize if you need to, and tell Nigeria 2019 is the year. Things like that. Anyway, the country is coming to the 2019 election in a couple of days' time. All Nigerians must accept that, one, we will conduct ourselves peacefully. We should do that. Two, the issues for determination are pretty much out there for us. Is our lives better now? Could it be better? Do we want to take a risk on some of the things that PDP is promising and or some of the things that they're saying? These are the things that matter to Nigeria. If you must do a New Year broadcast almost for something days to an election, it suffices to say that more can be given. And when I said it's not his to promise, I don't really mean it as an indictment. I'm actually trying to say that it's time in the country we stop appropriating and giving responsibility that was never theirs to the president. The responsibility to determine and deliver a free, fair, transparent election in Nigeria rests with independent National Electoral Commission.
So what's wrong with him saying it?
I think we're overplaying our hands by imagining that maybe there is one role that the president, who is also standing in an election, is supposed to play there. The only thing that the presidency will play in an election that they also stand in an election is to remove themselves from the process and do not be too political. And when you say PDP bought election, what do you call this, a trader money joke? Everybody knows that the trader money is nothing but vote buying before the date so that they can start trying to manipulate people towards the election. But at the end of the day, the global picture before Nigeria, and I dare say...
Well, they call it a poverty alleviation program. They didn't call it vote buying.
Look, when you start to ask for PVCs, once the mention of the word PVC, and there are videos all over social media that has to do with that, you just know it's vote buying. And I would say at the end of the day, and I want to say this seriously, it appears to my mind that the President Muhammadu Buhari campaign idea is to profit at the expense of the so-called poor people that he's not solving their problem. If you will be a champion of the poor, if that be your call in life, then you must, of a necessity, look for how to create jobs for them. There is no point in taking advantage of poverty and lack of education and miserable situation in all over the country, and then all you're just trying to do is be a champion so that you can sickle numbers from poor people without necessarily doing what a leader must do. The duty of a leader is to stand with his constituents. You cannot stand with the poor if you're losing job. You cannot stand with the poor if you're not opening the economy. You cannot stand with the poor if you're not solving the security problem and you're allowing it to metastasize to other nations. You cannot stand with the poor if you're not looking at a possible adjustment of the constitution to give the entire country an opportunity to believe in the document and then work to achieve it. Bottom line, the president has failed, and obviously he should be voted out.
Mr. Hamza, over to you.
Well, it's still rather baffling that the PDP is still saying that the president has not invested in the poor. He has invested in them via the social investment program, which is the first of its kind in this country. No previous government has tried such an initiative, and whether we like it or not, it is making an impact, a meaningful impact. Secondly, the massive infrastructural spending and investment being made by this government is unparalleled. I don't see any alternative being put forth by the PDP. Basically, what they are trying to say is, okay, we are going to privatize everything, we are going to concession everything. They are trying to shift responsibility to the private sector. They don't have any political steel or political will to take the bull by the horn to spend on infrastructure. Because what they want is they want the money for themselves. And if you are going to invest in infrastructure, then obviously you can't have any money to steal, which is what is happening these days. He's talking of trader money being hinged on PVCs, you know, of market people. I think that's an allegation which is unsubstantiated. He referred to the social media. Why don't he refer us to a credible source of information which is verifiable to that fact? Now, it is very sad that because we are approaching elections, it's kitchen sink time for PDP. Whatever they get, they throw it at the APC. But I think we should restrict these campaigns to issues, to verifiable facts. We are not saying that there are no challenges. There are challenges. But how be it, the country is now being more responsibly managed. Corruption is being fought, unlike in the past. Like I have said, I will still repeat myself, we are seeing unparalleled investment in infrastructure from Abuja to Kano, from Lagos to Ibadan, the second Niger Bridge, the 3050 Mambila hydropower project, which has been in the pipeline for over 40 years, you know, is being slowly being brought to fruition. These are things that as a country we ought to be proud of. We are not looking for a situation whereby we just concession things to cronies or to friends, and avoid responsibility. Because this seems to be the unfortunate disposition of the PDP.
If you could shed some more light on this, because if it says that delivery was lackluster, and secondly, could you shed some more light on what you mean by they're trying to shift responsibility to the private sector?
Okay, I'll answer these two issues. He said lackluster. Now, the speech basically spoke about